today to hear me talk about a couple chemicals that are really bad for you. Here's my presentation. Excuse it that it's not looking too swell because I didn't have a computer to do a PowerPoint and my printer did not work either, so this is the best I could do, so sorry for the cheesiness of my presentation. Do you ever give much thought when you drink a pop from a can, or buy cheese or meat at a deli, or even go to the dentist? Probably not. Most of us do not. They're things that most of us do on a regular basis. The scary fact is that there are so many chemicals that affect our health that we take for granted that the products being used in America for food packaging or in the medical or dental field, we feel that it must be safe. You would assume that the FDA, or out of the many government regulatory committees that are out there, those professionals must have done numerous studies and deemed these products safe to use. Think again. We have been unknowingly poisoning ourselves and our children with these chemicals. I'll be informing you of the most dangerous chemicals in plastic, their health effects, and what you can do to protect yourself and your family. I hope to convince those of you who are not conscious of looking at labels or the numbers on the plastics to change your routine. By doing this, you will greatly improve the quality of your life, especially for developing infants and children. The earlier we implement this change in their lives, the less they will be affected in the future. Their chances of developing mental disabilities, diabetes, liver disease, Down syndrome, hormonal abnormalities, reproductive organ diseases, and even Alzheimer's associated with PVC and BPA will dramatically decrease. There are generally 7 types of plastic categories, all found in the middle of the recycling triangle called the resin identification code. You'll find these on the bottom of most plastics. Of the 7 kinds of resin, 3 of them are extremely harmful. I will only be discussing 2 of them. I singled out these because they are readily used in our daily lives, especially in the lives of children. They are used in baby formula cans, the water in which we give our infants and children, the cheese and meats that schools and daycares use to feed the children. The FDA calls these food contact substances, but prior to 2002, these were called indirect food additives. The first resin I will be informing you about is polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, the number 3 plastic. This is used in most cling wrap meats, cheeses, and other foods sold in the delis or grocery stores. It is used as a plasticizer. This makes the plastic softer, more flexible to use. In men, it has been found to lower testosterone and cause the body to burn fat less efficiently. According to the National Institute of Health, a chemical known as DEHP is found in PVC, and it's a human carcinogen. My concern is obvious. Since many schools and daycares buy in bulk, this allows the chemical to very easily invade the children's system. As a matter of fact, the time when humans are most vulnerable to these effects are times of rapid growth, such as the embryonic stages right up through puberty. Next there is the chemical polycarbonate, number 7 plastic. It's made with bisphenol A, known simply as BPA. This chemical was invented in the 1930s when chemists were looking for synthetic estrogens. In other words, it's a hormone disruptor. Since BPA mimics estrogen, it feeds breast cancer by speeding up cell division in precancerous cells and prompts the tumors to metastasize. In numerous studies, it has been linked to numerous health problems such as cancer, infertility, obesity, liver disease, diabetes, and early puberty, said Anita Jacob, MD, who was a senior scientist at the Environmental Working Group. This too can leach into foods with the plastic wrap on it or in the liquid that is contained in the plastic bottles. In fact, if these plastics are used for heating items in the microwave, they spill out 50 times more BPA. When I was doing my research for the speech, I discovered that most 5-gallon water bottles were made with the number 7 plastic. Needless to say, the next day we went to the water store and exchanged our bottles for the number 1s. The store clerk did know of this and said that number 1 bottles were mostly requested. I wondered if they knew this, then why were they still using number 7s? Baby bottles did use BPA in production until it was recently banned by the FDA in 2010. Although it was banned in baby bottles, baby formula cans, milk and juice cartons, and even tin and soda cans are lined with an epoxy containing BPA. European and Canadian governments have already banned the use of BPA in all of their plastic production. Again, these are all used in our schools, daycares, and homes, and not yet banned. As I stated earlier, these health risks start very early in life. Even before an embryo is viable, the male and female reproductive organs of the parents have already been affected by PVC and BPA. The U.S. National Institute of Health National Toxicology Program, which is a government program that coordinates federal studies of chemicals' adverse effects, also warns that BPA exposure can lead to abnormal development in infants. Research has shown that a chromosome abnormality, aneuploidy, is found in more than 5% of pregnancies. Most of these fetuses die in utero. A staggering 1/3 of all miscarriages are aneuploid, making it the leading cause of pregnancy loss and the leading genetic cause of mental retardation, development disabilities, Down syndrome, and Alzheimer's. On the other hand, it's only fair to say that the Code of Federal Regulation does allow for some acceptable amounts of migratory chemicals to leach into food. The problem is that depending on which government agency you ask, you'll get different answers. They are even found in dental products our dentists use, to syringes to eye lenses. The FDA only regulates these chemicals in food, not in the products that we use at home, in the office, or in our daycares. As I stated earlier, even though these chemicals are still a part of our daily lives, there are simple things that we can do now. Companies have been working on alternatives so that we have more choices in the future. One of the new alternatives that will be more available soon is PLA, which is polylactic acid. This can be a corn, potato, or sugarcane-based plastic. It looks and functions like plastic, but it's fully biodegradable because it's derived from plant-based materials, according to University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Services. Companies like Archer Daniels, Midland, Del Monte, and Newman's Own Organic Wild Oat Market are already using plastics for some of their packaging, which contain these corn, sugarcane, or potato-based. Coca-Cola is experimenting with replacing its plastic bottles with the corn-based plastic. Another major retailer is Walmart. They have also moved ahead with a green overhaul. It is announced that it will begin replacing 114 million plastic produce containers a year with the PLA variety, which in turn would save about 800,000 barrels of oil a year. And remember that petroleum is where plastics are derived from. Analysts project that more plant-based alternatives will be developed as petroleum gets more and more expensive. Lastly, let me give you some examples of things you can begin to do now which will lessen your exposure to BPA and PVC. Choose gold crowns if possible. When you go to the dentist, they're very expensive, but they're worth it to your health. When buying in bulk, buying your bulk meats and cheeses, slice off a thin layer that was in contact with the plastic wrap and then store them in a glass or ceramic container. Or you can buy PVC-free cling wrap. Pack children's lunches in paper bags, metal boxes, or coolers rather than plastic lunch boxes. Try to use bamboo or stainless steel kitchen utensils or wood cutting boards instead of plastic. Storing and microwaving food in glass or ceramic is very important. Use stainless steel refillable water bottles, or at least make sure your bottles are a number 1 or 5. If you can, buy number 2, 4, and 5 plastic. These have no known chemicals that can transmit into your food. In conclusion, I'm sure you see that it is painfully obvious that everywhere you look there are substances that are harmful to us but are still being used. Until the government bans these or everyone agrees on the effects they will have on our health, all we can do is to educate ourselves and make healthier choices, not only for our own sake but our children. I hope that I have made the dangers associated with using these plastics very clear and that I've changed your mind and you rethink how you do your normal daily routine. Please think of the children. Check with your child's school, daycare, and even in your own cupboards. There is no necessary reason to expose these children to these proven harmful chemicals that can alter their lives forever. They do not have the ability to speak for themselves or buy their own products, so it's up to us, the parents, the educators, and the adults, to protect them and to make them as healthy as possible. Thank you.